I may be a mad scientist, but having two streams in the same day within 1 hour of each other? That is definitely nuts. Hello everyone. Hello. Welcome back to those who are returning from the stream earlier on this morning. Hello. And everyone who's just dropping by right here, welcome to the stream. Welcome to my channel for the day. Hello everyone. I see we have TVPG, hello. Holokur, Haruki, Salamiel, Alex Kurosawa, Vessel Sibi, Adaver, Kokori. We are all here. There were shenanigans. There were shenanigans during the Back 4 Blood stream. If you missed it, it was a nice time. It was a nice time. We enjoyed it. We definitely did. I was very fortunate, is what I'm going to say to begin. I was very fortunate. The reason that I'm so fortunate, hello. The reason why I am fortunate is that we had friendly fire switched off. And I'm very glad that we did. Because I kept getting shot by everyone. I got shot by Sulan, I got shot by Misaki, I don't think I got shot by Chelsea actually. I don't think she shot me very much. She did in the waiting lobby. I hope you won't mind. I will drop a spoiler. We did end up dropping at the end of the stream, which was a shame. But we were one level away from completing, and I had to leave so that I could prepare for this stream as well. But yeah, it looks like it was a server issue because it looks like several people couldn't connect to the servers at the time. But it's a fantastic game. Yep, exactly, Alex. Good variety of guns, good variety of weapon attachments, lots and lots of tactical choices to be made. It's a good game. It's a really good game. I recently read an article that was saying the devs had said that it was basically golden, which means it's now good to ship. As far as they're concerned, it's good to ship. Which is very, very nice. It's very, very good to see. So yeah, they're going to continue working on it. Over the next 2 months. Sort out another couple of bugs, which I saw none of while we were playing. There were no major bugs. A couple of little model tweaks and stuff like that to be adjusted, but no major bugs. And yeah, it's a good game. It's a good game. We all enjoyed it. Misaki's purchased it already. We're definitely going to be looking at playing it again at some point in future. So I hope you look forward to that. I know I will be. Because, hey, it's a damn good game. A lot of fun. Was the AI bug fixed? Well, fortunately, we did somehow manage to have 4 people playing here. It was myself, Chelsea, Misaki, and Sulan. We were all playing. So we didn't have to rely on a bot AI to get us through the mission. So I don't yet know if the AI bug has been fixed yet. But I'm probably going to play it again. I think I'll maybe see if some of the others are free. And we'll see if we can play it a bit in our own time. Or maybe on a Gorilla stream. I don't know. But if someone does want to play, I will give it a shot, and we'll see if we can play with a couple less people. We'll definitely give it a test. I'll be interested to see if the AI are behaving themselves now. That's very important. So yeah, it was a great stream. By all means, drop in, check any of the VODs, watch them all at once if you want. Watch them all at once if you want. Although, considering there's 3 points of views up all at the same time, it's an interesting experience. It'll be an interesting experience to say the least. But it was good. We enjoyed it. We really did. I think the girls are currently chilling. I think they're playing some Among Us right now. So yeah, that's what they're up to. But we have something else to be looking at today. Hello, Ovaler Theory, and Doranix. Hello. So yes, we have something to be getting on with. Yes, believe it or not, something more important than Among Us. Because we are going to be looking at the AnoMALous AnoMALies. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Let's see, where's that window gone? Is it this one? I'll get another one. But yes, we're going to be reviewing the AnoMALous AnoMALies. That is what we are doing today. So I want to say, first of all, thank you to everyone who has submitted an entry for this. Because, well, honestly, I was thinking to myself, again, like, very much like my debut stream. I was thinking to myself, hello, Kyrazard, hello. But yeah, I was thinking to myself, again, as I do, let's move over to, let's get ready, and we'll move over to, let's see, teach me all your secrets. We're going to transition over here. Here we go. Here we are. We're on the slideshow page over here. Yes, we are. So, I was wondering to myself, how many people are going to be sending in a submission? And I wasn't too sure. Just like I wasn't sure how many people were going to show up for my debut, or who were going to be showing up for some streams of mine. So I didn't know what quite to expect. And also, another point was made that I didn't actually say what kind of word count there was going to be. Generally, I wasn't too worried. I wasn't too worried about the word count. I didn't expect, you know, a modern novel. I wasn't expecting anything on the scale of 1,000 words or anything. But the ones that I've seen, I've had a little quick look over them, and some of them are quite interesting. Some of them I'm looking forward to reading. I did just take a quick scan over some of them, so I don't know exactly what's in there just now. For the most part, I should be surprised by what I read. So we're gonna see what we have here. So I think I'm going through them in alphabetical order. So the first one, I do believe, is from Alex Kurosawa. I see you there. So what I'm gonna do, let's close that down, and we're gonna go right on into it. So this is submission from Alex Kurosawa. So thank you very much for making the submission. We're gonna read this one just now. It's Alex, indeed. We're gonna have a little read through it. So. This one seems to be computer related, which is very interesting. Cause I was thinking this would be, well, the idea was lots of supernatural things going on, supernatural stuff, or really uncanny happenings, and I'm sure this is going to be uncanny. But it didn't even cross my mind. Hello, Sloth Isbit. Hello there. But yes, I didn't expect that there would be a computer one. For some reason, to do with computers and IT, didn't even cross my mind. But yeah, we've got this here, so we're going to read through it. Let's see. It was the end of my shift during the time, so I thought I'd go out for a smoke for a bit and leave the work PC on while I was out. It was a good 30 or so minutes, maybe more, and once I came back and switched to my Facebook tab, I was logged out with a session expired message. I tried to log in, and once I did, this was the message that popped up. I don't know what it meant, or what it's for, and what came next kinda just felt regular. Facebook prompted me to delete posts that I think I didn't do, which to no one's surprise, there wasn't anything peculiar going on. So we got the message that came up saying, hello, nothing, second paragraph. Okay, kind of odd, interesting. Afterwards, I clicked on a notification saying that they deleted a post of mine because it violates the community guidelines. And normally when you click on those, they at least show you which post it was and which community guideline it violated. But that wasn't the case on this one. I wasn't post blocked for it either, so I shouldn't really be complaining. But it's such a weird occurrence that I haven't been able to replicate it. But I think it's for the better. So yeah, a post removed here. Yeah, this is interesting. This is interesting. Hello, nothing. I know that's an odd one. That's an odd. Okay. I think I've figured this one out. This is an interesting one. I'm not going to deny. I was surprised, as I said, to be getting one that was from a computer. But if you will allow me to don my detective's hat, I think I might be able to make a guess as to what's going on here. I'm just going to put some background music on. You can hear my background music, but I can't hear my background music. So let me just put on a nice tune. I'm going to put on a nice tune here for me. There we go. Okay, that's nice. This is very nice. So, my theory as to what's going on here. My theory is that this is a Facebook error. Most likely a Facebook error. By looking at the text here, by looking at what it says. Hello, nothing, second paragraph. Okay? So, normally, with this kind of thing, an automated message would be generated, and the message would usually say something like, hello, whatever your username is, and then whatever the paragraph would be, it would say, we recently noticed that this post violates our community guidelines, and all that stuff. Normally that would be included in the second paragraph, but it looks like for some reason Facebook has glitched. It's not been able to automatically fill in the details of what should be going into the message. So it sent you this blank template message. So there'll be some rule in there saying, oh, if you don't know, if the system isn't able to retrieve the user's name, then we'll just put in nothing instead. That's just a cover. Second paragraph will probably be placeholder text. Oh, I didn't scroll up. We'll scroll up a bit. Scroll up. There we go. So yeah, the second paragraph will probably be placeholder text that would be replaced automatically by the system when it goes through. So I think that's probably what's happened here. Normally it would have gone into detail as to what's been going on, but Facebook's had a glitch. It is an interesting one. It is still an interesting one. It's not to say that something strange isn't going on here, because something strange could definitely be going on here. Try refreshing, still the same. Probably refreshing wouldn't make a difference. It would be like refreshing your page if you'd received an email that should have had a picture in it but didn't, kind of thing. So there could still be something odd going on here. Something could have happened. Something could have happened that would have led to the system failing. Because normally, with the sheer number of users that Facebook has, this kind of thing should have been sorted by now. This kind of thing should be a very, very rare thing. So there could have been something to do with your post, or your account, or something going on Facebook's side that's led to this error happening. This is something that they didn't expect. Something unexpected has happened here. So congratulations, Alex. I'm not sure if this is something that could be supernatural in origin. What I can say for sure is that something about the situation has been able to confound the very best and brightest at Facebook. So there's definitely something worthy of note going on here. Colour me impressed. Although, considering the number of people that have been able to take advantage of Facebook's algorithms and all that stuff to get false information out there and to do false advertising and things. Maybe it's just another part of the same trend. But yes, it is certainly an anomaly. I'll put it down mostly as mundane. This is going to be in the mundane category. So it's probably something that's not supernatural, but it is something that is very surprising and very interesting. So colour me impressed. Colour me impressed. Technology is very funny. Technology is very funny. Facebook being Facebook. It may well be the case. It may well be the case. But hey, you know, it's still interesting. So what we're going to do, we're going to move over to the second slide. Now this slide has been provided to us by Haruki Takehito. So thank you very much for sending in your submission, Haruki. So let's have a look at this one. I worked in my family business. Since I was a kid, my family runs a bake shop. I don't know why that's in quotation marks. Is it not a bake shop? Like, is it a bake shop? Is it a bake shop that doesn't sell bakes? Or is it like a cover for some other kind of shop? I don't know. You may need to elaborate on this for me. You may need to elaborate on this because I need context. Okay, so since I was a kid, my family runs a bake shop. To their surprise, I was knowledgeable about what stuffs are used for. One day, I accidentally stabbed my foot with a wheel spoke. Bake your ride. Okay, a bake your ride. Okay. I wasn't panicking or something, but people around me got too scared because the steel went through my feet and to the other side of my feet. Ooh, that's a rough one, jeez. Oh, that's painful. And I was like, I guess I'll be taking a week off. I feel little pain. And my doctor informed me I lost at least 15% of my whole body's blood. Oh. Oh my. My dad went through the same thing, but he passed out. I was a small kid when that happened to him. And when it happened to me, I was numb. Because I wasn't sleeping for like 25 plus hours due to college presentations for finals. I guess the lack of sleep prevents my adrenaline from kicking in. I can send images of that time if you'd like it. No, I think we're good on the images front. Thank you for not including them. I've seen that some people have sent me images of what's been going on, which I do appreciate. I like being able to see the images of what's been going on. But when it comes to physical pain, when it comes to, you know, being injured and stuff like that, I'll pass on that. But I appreciate the offer. So this one, this is interesting. Okay, there's a lot of interesting stuff going on back here. So, when you're in pain, there's all kinds of different things that can happen to you. And when you're tired, interesting things happen to you as well. Guess what happened to my dad will happen to me then. Oh dear. Oh dear. Sometimes when you receive a very sharp pain, if you get a splinter, if you get a paper cut, like one of these very small pains, or if you get a slap kind of thing, they're very low overall in how much damage they do to you. But what sets them apart is that they're sharp pain, they're avoidable pains. It sets off a different set of pain receptors in your body, so you react very sharply to these pains. When you receive a much deeper injury, so if you receive internal damage, or if you've been impaled, as you have been, Haruki. So what happens here is it's a very different pain signal that is sent to you. Your brain picks up a different pain signal. It still says, yeah, this is bad, but it doesn't want to overload you with how painful it is. It doesn't want you to think, I'm in so much pain right now, because, you know, if you've ever been punched in the gut or something like that, you'll know it puts you on the ground. It puts you on the ground, and it is really, really painful. The thing is, when you're in pain like this, when you're in a really difficult situation, you really don't want to be completely incapacitated by the pain. So you still register it as painful, you still recognize, you know, something really bad is happening, please make it stop, but it doesn't debilitate you. Additionally, you're incredibly, incredibly tired at the time. So when you are... So at the end of the day, or at the end of a full day of like 16 hours, or if you have been only asleep for about 4 hours, if you have trouble sleeping, then you are effectively the equivalent of legally drunk, with as much as you're affected by the tiredness. So if you're really tired, then it will affect your ability to drive and coordinate yourself as much as if you were drunk by a legal standard. That legal standard may change depending on where you are, but there's a reason why they say don't drink and drive. There's a reason why they say don't drive when you're tired. And it's because when you're so tired, it really negatively affects your coordination. And incidentally, it also affects your ability to perceive pain. This happens, yeah, three majors in college. Jeez, yeah, hard pass on that. Oh dear. I did have to do 2, what are they called? They weren't dissertations. Forget what they were called. But yeah, I had to do 2 projects in my final year. I did 2 of them. It was interesting. It was a fun year. It was a fun year in many ways. But yeah, so when you're tired, your body is producing a lot of stress hormones. Your body is full of them, telling you to go to sleep. When you're forcing yourself to stay awake, you're being flooded with hormones trying to get you through what you need to do. So, because you were in such a stressed situation, your body was full of these stress hormones that were keeping you going. So I think a combination of the incredible standard of pain that you were in, combined with the tiredness, probably let you just muscle through it. When I'm in pain, when I receive something that's painful, if I get a painful injury, or if I'm sore, I tend to actually laugh quite a lot. Like, that's how I process pain. I turn it into humour. For example, one of the times when I was at university, I was playing a game of what was effectively tag. around the university campus. And what happened was, I was chasing some people. I spotted them across a long car park. So, and this was late at night. This was very late at night. There were no cars around. There was no students running around. This was in the evening. So I had to jump off of this small grassy verge, just like maybe 2 feet high off of the pavement, so that I could run across the pavement and chase after a group of people, including one of my close friends. But what happened was, when I landed on the ground, I came down super hard on my ankle. Like, I rolled my ankle, all my body weight went on it, and it's a miracle I didn't break my leg, probably. But I did incredibly strain it. I got a really bad sprain. I ended up walking with a limp for what must have been 2 weeks, and I didn't actually feel 100% for like another 2 weeks after that. It was painful. It was painful. But in that moment when I hurt myself, I was just overwhelmed by the absurdity of the situation, because of course I'm the one doing the chasing here, you know? I'm chasing these people. But if I start acting as if I'm in real pain, they're not even going to believe me. They're not going to believe me that I'm in pain. They're not going to come and check that I'm okay. Might have got small cracks on bone. Maybe I might have actually had a small fracture. I didn't end up going to the doctor about it. It turned out I was not the only person to be injured that day. I was not the only person to be injured that day. But yeah, so I was there lying on the road, just absolutely gut laughter, pouring with laughter, and they just walked away. They knew I was in pain, but they just walked away. And I later asked my friend, like, yo, why did you just leave me there? I was in so much pain. He was like, you were laughing. Like, you seemed like you were fine. I was just like, I was not fine. So yeah, we may have been playing Back 4 Blood today, but I personally know the pain of having been left for dead. So yeah, that is my pain story. There was another person actually who I was chasing, and we were running down another grassy ledge. I'm not sure if that. I think this might have been after I injured myself. I don't know why I decided to keep running, but I chased him down a grassy ledge, and he ended up really, really injuring his knee sliding down this slope. We ended up needing to call an ambulance. That pun, jeez. But yeah, we ended up having to call an ambulance, and I had to explain what had happened, because I was there with him when it happened, to a security guard for the campus, and he was like, yeah, you were climbing the scaffolding, because at the time there was scaffolding around the building. And I had to say, no, we weren't climbing any scaffolding. He just slid down the slope. Yeah. He was alright. I think he ended up in a cast for a few months. Yeah, it was interesting time. But hey, in the end we were all okay. We both healed up fine. It was that night I discovered that I'm actually very good at stealth. I'm very good at stealth. I was standing, at one point I was standing in a little alcove on the outside of the building, and someone who was it walked right past me, looked dead at me, and then just walked on. They just completely avoided me. They just completely didn't see me. And I was just like, it was one of those sneak 100 moments, you know? It was a sneak 100 moment. It was, to be able to do that, to be able to completely avoid detection from someone, so satisfying, so satisfying. Anyway, I apologise, we've slightly gone off topic, but all this to say, I do kind of know what it's like to be in really bad pain, and to not take it really not to take it really bad. You know, just end up laughing or pushing through it, you know? So, yeah, interesting story. Very interesting story. That said, always something interesting could be going on. There's always something interesting to be going on. So I'm going to mark this one down. I'm going to mark this one down as, I don't think I would call this mundane. I would call it plausible. It's plausible that that this would just be down to human resilience. This may just be down to the resilience of Haruhi Takehito. But you never do know. You never do know, okay? Every time I feel pain, I just like to move my body until the pain goes away. Good strategy. Good strategy. And proven, laughter does in fact reduce the amount of pain that you experience. It actually, it releases hormones in your body that are really, really good pain inhibitors. So you absolutely can fight pain with laughter. As an aside, there's a couple of different things you can do to inhibit pain in the body. One that I don't know if many people know this one. It turns out kissing someone is actually very, very good for alleviating pain. For pretty much the same reason. Releases a lot of hormones that are good pain receptors, or pain inhibitors rather. So yeah, another little body hack there. Oh dear. Help, I've injured myself. I need first aid. It's okay. Kisses. I'm breathing. I'm breathing. I'm okay. Why are you kissing me? It's a pain blocker. Oh dear. Oh dear. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Okay. Kissing someone. Ha. Oh well. File it away. File it away as potentially useful information. File it away. I've not exactly done a clinical trial on this myself. I haven't done a clinical trial on this myself, so I can't say as to exactly how effective it is. But yeah, apparently it does work. Apparently it does work. Okay, so yeah, this one I'm going to put down as plausible. Plausible that this could have happened and that it could make scientific sense. So we're going to move on to the next one. And we're going to have to slightly reduce the size of this one. This is one of the wordier ones, I think. This is a bit of a wordier one. Hope you can read that one okay. So this one has been submitted by Hollow Kerr. So I look forward to reading this one. Yeah, we're going to have to do a bit of scrolling here, I think. We're going to have to scroll. Make this one fit a bit better. Alright boys, smooching time. Exactly. Yes, this one's Hollow Kerr's. Okay, this looks interesting. I think this is one of the longer ones. This is one of the longer ones. So let's see what's happened to the Hollow Kerr. So my story happened in my teenage years. To this day, it's the only time in my entire life this kind of event happened. When I was 16, I had a lot of trouble sleeping. I sure wasn't helping myself by drinking 4 energy drinks a day. I was an idiot, okay? One night, I woke up to go to the bathroom around 3-4 AM. I'd barely slept and was dead tired. After doing my business and washing my hands, I looked at myself in the bathroom's mirror. Safe to say that I looked like complete garbage due to my fatigue and unhealthy diet of energy drink. All of a sudden, my eyes caught the corner of the room in the mirror, where it was darker than most spots. I squinted as I saw the shadows shifting around like it was moving. In a horror movie cliche fashion, I told myself that I needed some sleep ASAP and prepared to leave until shit went down. The shadows started moving more and more. now crawling on the floor and walls like black liquid slowly corroding away the space. It was extremely slow, but it was indeed moving and approaching towards me. As for myself, my body had locked, frozen, paralysed in fear as I kept staring at the mirror. I couldn't take a single breath. My entire body was numb, and cold sweat covered my entire body. The only thing I heard was the rapid increase of my heart thumping in my chest as the shadows slowly came advanced, taking the shape of something. Then I blinked, and everything disappeared. The shadows were gone, and the room had reverted back to normal. After managing to inhale oxygen, I gathered my courage and turned around to see if something would happen. Nothing. At that, I whimpered like a bitch and did the same mental encouragement as I looked back to the mirror. Nothing. At that point, I decided to make a mad dash out of the bathroom and back in my room as stress and anxiety crashed into my body. Safe to say, I didn't sleep a wink that night. Never knew if it was because I was tired or had too much caffeine in my body. Maybe it was truly the paranormal. I'll never know. And frankly, I kinda don't want to. Well, that's a very interesting one. Thank you for sharing, Holocur. So, as you were saying, this quite easily could just be a combination of stress and your overtiredness. Lo Koniko. Sent by the softest of foxes. Sure is. Wait, sure is not a fox. Nunki has sent you. How very kind of her. We are currently reviewing Holocur's story. So yeah, this one could definitely be a combination of being far overtired and the stimulants that were in your body. This could be a combination of both of them. Absolutely. Stinkiest of foxes is Ninky. Absolutely true. So this could definitely be a combination of lack of good diet, overtiredness, and overstimulation as well. I did learn something recently about something called Polyphasic Sleep. Apparently, in times before the Industrial Revolution, what people would naturally tend to do would be to go to sleep around sunset, sleep for maybe 3-4 hours, and then they would wake up, go about some business for 3-4 hours, go to the toilet, they would spend time with their family, visit some neighbours. Yeah, they would actually call it their first sleep and their second sleep. There's actually references to this in ancient Greek times. There's references to this from several kind of Renaissance and later writers as well. Yeah, apparently it was quite common, to the point where a lot of English translations of texts from this period just says when you're resting or like when you're chilling out kind of thing. It completely ignores the possibility of being able to go to sleep and then naturally waking up and then falling back asleep. And they've done some tests with this as well. They have done trials where they get a group of, well, it was men, probably from university, as you do. But what they did is they exposed them to large amounts of darkness over the course of the day for a period of several months. And what they found was that they would tend to go to sleep and then wake up after about 4 hours and then stay awake for maybe 2 hours or so and then go back to sleep for another 4 hours or so. So yeah, waking up in the middle of the night, not actually as bad for your sleep as you might think it is. It seems that the need to be as efficient as possible with your time is much more recent than people give it credit for. Apparently it comes from around the Industrial Revolution. where suddenly you needed to be a lot more efficient with the time that you had, so you couldn't afford to be going to sleep and in the night and then waking up in the middle of the night. As we started getting electric lights, what would happen is we would stay awake. We would be outside in the cities and what have you, and it meant that you could do more in the evening. You could stay awake for longer. So you would stay awake for longer, and because you're awake longer, you're not actually getting quite as much sleep. Or rather, you're not sleeping early, so you can wake up in the middle of the night, so that you can have your midnight awake period, and then go back to sleep. So yeah, this kind of thing, when it comes out of nowhere, it's not good. You get the feeling you need a good solid 8 hours sleep. But yeah, maybe in fact, that kind of sleeping pattern, maybe that is your body doing what it needs to do to rest properly. Maybe that was your body saying, okay, I am overtired. We'll get some sleep, then we wake up for a couple of hours, and then go back to sleep. Don't see it as a bad thing. Maybe try and see it as a good thing. Maybe try and take advantage of it. Maybe try and play to its strength. Apparently it might be better for you than you might think. But again, I'm no clinical doctor. And I'm just getting... This is recycled secondhand information. So take it with a pinch of salt. If it works for you, it works for you. But definitely better authorities to turn to than me when it comes to sleep health. Considering I had 6 hours at best last night before the collab this morning. So yeah, anyway, you definitely could have been just completely overtired. Absolutely. Another interesting thing, in spiritualist circles, and even in contemporary religion, there is this sense of having certain things happen that have kind of a religious or spiritual significance. And it's worth being aware of these things. Generally speaking, it's worth being aware of them. So when there's a lot of concepts of taking some form of alcoholic drink, even just a small amount to kind of bring you closer to the spirits or the gods or what have you. There is all kinds of stories out there about things like druids or medicine men or voodoo priests who take strange chemicals that give them visions or put them into trances or these kinds of things, or open their third eye. And if you ask me, there's probably not much of a difference in there, or rather there wouldn't, to me, be much difference in taking caffeinated things as a stimulant. Even things like tobacco were used for these purposes in the New World. So it could be that the cocktail of energy drinks that you were drinking could have worked in a similar way. Caffeine is an incredibly powerful stimulant, if you didn't already know. So it may be that it stimulated some aspect of you. If we're gonna look at this from a potentially spiritual standpoint or a potentially supernatural standpoint, it may be that stimulation could have made you a bit more sensitive to things that are happening. That could have been the case. There was another point I wanted to make. Excessive caffeine can cause anxiety. Yes, absolutely. There's all kinds of warnings with several kinds of drugs, both legal and illegal drugs, that some of them can cause issues like anxiety. Again, not a clinical doctor, not encouraging at all the excessive or improper use of these chemicals. But yeah, it could be that there's a level of dissociation going on. It could be that there's a level of kind of lack of awareness, or becoming less part of yourself, and making you sensitive to strange things in your environment. So you could look at it from both sides. There's definitely a scientific explanation as to why this cocktail of things would lead to you having this, I almost want to call it vision, or having this sensation of there being some strange shadowy force behind you and of seeing these patterns. It can certainly be explained as a kind of sleep deprived hallucination, but to be equally fair, could also be seen as something potentially supernatural going on. And, well, really, who's to say that there couldn't potentially be some overlap? Like, you say to someone, oh yeah, no, you didn't have a vision, you just had some kind of anxiety attack, or something like that. But then, surely if you're having a supernatural vision, if your rational mind can't make sense of things, wouldn't that normally give you some kind of anxiety attack in itself? So, yeah, congratulations, you've just described my symptoms, but have you explained the cause? The feeling of your body being locked in place as well. Yeah, that's kind of rabbit in the headlights kind of situation as well. That's not uncommon at all. But yeah, so those are some of my thoughts on your story there. But I think the most important thing to take away from this, the most important thing that you can take away from this, is that you were okay. Like, nothing harmed you. Paraplegia, maybe? But the takeaway is, you were okay. Ultimately, you were safe. I think I said the other day on stream, there have been times where I've been like getting up at night to go to the toilet, and as I'm going up the stairs, I just feel something behind me. And sometimes I'm not ashamed to admit, I sometimes run up the stairs to get away from this sensation, just to return to what's safe, to what's comfortable. So yeah, no shame in it. No disrespect intended. But you were safe. And yes, any reason to stop taking energy drinks when you really, really don't need them is a good one. I don't touch caffeine anymore myself. I used to go through so much Diet Coke. You have no idea. But yes, so, interesting blend of things going on here. Colour me very interested. Colour me very interested by this story. I'm going to put this one down as potentially supernatural. Most likely plausible, potentially supernatural. Those would be my thoughts on this one. We're going to move over to the next slide. We're going to have to do a little bit of scrolling on this one, but it should fit for the most part. So this one has been submitted by Kairazard. And this is a very lovely picture. This is one of the first ones that really stuck out to me when I was taking a quick look over all of the entries, because I screenshotted them. To be able to put them on the screen. And this image really stood out to me. I think it was the first one I saw. Like, let's have a look at it. Look at that lovely butterfly. I mean, I assume it's a butterfly. I like moths as well, but it's lovely. I like it. I like it a lot. It is a butterfly. But yeah, let's have a little read of Kairazard's story, shall we? But in a moment, because I have actually been to a butterfly house once a couple of years ago. I was in Puerto Rico. I was there while on holiday, and I got to go to this jungle sanctuary, and I got to eat some raw, fresh cacao from a cacao pod. Proto chocolate. It was very buttery, actually. Kind of reminded me a little bit. It reminded me a little bit of avocado, almost. Not in the flavour, but in like the texture and the consistency. The closest butterfly pic you can find to your description. Okay. But it is a very lovely butterfly. But yeah, this place had so many butterflies. Lots of butterflies, big house full of butterflies. And also poison dart frogs. They just let them hop around all over the place. You could just touch one and you could die. So we had to be quite careful. But it was great. It was absolutely fantastic. Loved it, loved it, loved it. But yes, enough said about butterflies and my experience with butterflies. Let's read the story. So, when I was a child, I liked to wander around, running to our backyard to see the birds and the bees, touching the green grass of home, playing with the warm surroundings. But apart from that, my childhood was almost non-existent because of my mother's tragic death. But that's a story for another day. I'm very sorry to hear it, Irazard. I'm really sorry to hear it. I was 8 years old at the time when she died. Just coming home from a fun-filled day of school, I went to our backyard and go play. Nothing new happened. I looked at the beautiful plants we had, climbing one of the 2 mango trees, and swinging under the shade after that, the usual. As I was sitting in the swing, I then saw a butterfly. It was black and white with red spots. It flew around the tree, trying to flee from my hands. I got off the swing and tried my best to catch it. As soon as I left that swing, a mango crashed right down where I sat. My grandmother was nearby and saw the whole thing. She said not to catch it because the butterfly I saw wasn't an ordinary butterfly. It was my mother trying to protect me, she told me. Since then, I would always see that same butterfly fluttering its wings around the backyard. A few years have passed and I would still have that same butterfly almost everywhere I go. One time, when I was on my entrance exam for senior high, it landed on my left chest area and stayed there for a while. It was trying to calm me down, I concur. I thought to myself that she was always with me. After I stood up, it flew around me, then left. I then passed the exam with flying colours. I may not have felt my mother's love well growing up, but I know in my heart that she will always be here, always by my side. Yeah, that is a petable butterfly. That is a petable butterfly. That is an absolutely lovely story, Kairazard. It really is a lovely story. Okay, so aside regarding the story about the mango, you know what I'm gonna say. You know what I'm gonna say because it's what always comes up, don't you think? Don't you think this is always the natural response when something happens that a scientist can't immediately explain? It could be a coincidence. But no, that's not a satisfying answer for anyone, and I will not insult you by entertaining it. So yeah, no. So yeah, to be fair, yes, coincidences happen, but let's not, there's more that could be said here. Because, there is actually, actually a good argument to be made behind what your grandmother told you. Because there's been a long association between butterflies and moths and the souls of the departed. I don't know specific details off the top of my head, unfortunately, but I do know that in a good few cultures that at different times, different cultures have associated moths and butterflies with the souls of those who have left us. So there's absolutely a tradition that is in agreement with what your grandmother said to you. In addition, I've mostly heard it with regard to moths, but as it happens, it does actually seem to be the case that moths and butterflies, of course, they're very closely related, but it seems that butterflies are in fact a special case of moth. So butterflies seem to be an offshoot of moth like moth's genetic family that specialize in being active during the day as opposed to being active during night. So even if it is the case that cultures mostly see the souls of the departed in moths, that doesn't mean that they couldn't also be equally applied to butterflies, because, hey, they're both part of the same family. Butterflies are a subset of moth. Yeah, evolution, absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. So yeah, and you know, I'm quite fond of moths myself. I think, as odd as it is for a scientist to be saying it, if I were to have a spirit animal, you know, if it were a story where I had like an animal form or like an animal companion or animal familiar, I would probably end up having a moth. I think a moth suits me quite well because they're active late at night and they're attracted to bright things. Bright things like candles being a common image for knowledge, for enlightenment. Moths as well, yeah. Moths as well also having the kind of spiritualist side, and while I'm definitely a rational person, it's not like I'm not in touch with my sensation. It's not like I'm not in touch with what can happen spiritually or metaphysically, kind of thing. Holocur, your spirit animal would be a bear. Very nice. Bears, very good creatures. And yours would be an armadillo or a turtle. Okay, so for a bear, okay, we're going to talk a little about spirit animals here and the imagery associated with these creatures, because animals do actually have a very, very profound significance. I'm going to talk about bear first, because bears are a very, very interesting creature. So bears, way back when, we're talking thousands of years ago, definitely prehistoric times. We're talking at a time when the group of humans who would go on to split to populate all of, basically most of Eurasia, from Europe to the kind of Indian subcontinent. While they were still together, they spoke a language called Proto-Indo-European, which we don't have any records of, but there are common roots that indicate that this language would have existed, because there are similarities between all the languages that sprang out of them. And it turns out that both language groups originally had words that were very similar for referring to the animal, the bear. And at the time, bears were effectively gods. Bears were so incredibly powerful that you would really struggle to be able to handle one in a fight. If a bear wanted to kill you, even these days, if a bear wants to kill you, it will manage to do so. If you've spent any time hunting, I have not, but if you spent any time hunting or speaking with people who do hunting, you'll know that they really have to be prepared to fight bears. It is a massive concern if you live in a place with bears. And this was actually such a concern, and these creatures were seen as so powerful that even saying the name of the creature could summon it to you. It caused problems. So no one said the name of the bear. So they started referring to it by other words, little descriptive words, to refer to it without saying its name. Bulletproof, yeah. A bear skull is bulletproof level 2A. Yeah, geez. They are ridiculously hardy creatures. So yeah, they don't refer to a bear by its natural name. They would instead refer to it by some kind of pseudonym. or kind of thing, not a pseudonym. Kind of like Voldemort, calling him he who must not be named, or you know who. They would usually, it was quite common to refer to the bear as the brown one. Half a tear, YouTube not letting you watch the stream. Oh dear. Well, hopefully hope you're able to watch it without any issue now. Thank you for joining us. But yes, the bear. So it was commonly, in a lot of different languages, it's been referred to as the brown one, or something like that, because, you know, they typically have brown fur. So yeah, the bear was actually used as a symbol of royalty at times as well. A lot of very powerful people. You can imagine this as well. You can imagine when bears are so feared, being able to kill one would be a massive mark of prestige. You are watching the stream now, that's good. So yeah, massive mark of prestige. You're very famous if you've killed a bear. So of course, you can imagine leaders of these tribes of early humans wanting to be recognised or associated with bears. So yeah, it was actually very, very common in heraldry when we got to that stage, before lions were popularised as a symbol of royalty. The bear was a very, very common symbol of royalty. And if you know loads of different words for bears, or maybe if you speak other languages, you may know that a lot of different cultures do refer to bears by a different word, and there's words that are used to refer to bears. And it's usually something on the lines of Ursine, or Ursid, or something like that. The Ursa kind of thing. It's seen in the names of the constellations Ursa Major and Ursa Minor. And it seems that the name Ursa is actually what is closest to the original true name of the bear. It was something like that, certainly. And the word bear itself is actually just it's derived from the word brown, or the common word brown. Dinner, everyone. Well, if it's dinner time for you, please enjoy your dinner. But yeah, bears would eat you for dinner, for sure. So yeah, that's the story about bears. That's why bears are significant. So it's a very noble animal to have as a spirit animal. Very powerful, very primal, almost royal. Let's see. Kairazard, you said armadillo or a turtle. Both defensive creatures. Very defensive. Favorite colour is purple. Yeah, that's true. Another royal colour. Mostly just on account of how expensive the dye was. Had to be imported from very far away, so it was a very good symbol of wealth. But yeah, as a turtle or an armadillo. Both very defensive creatures. Both very defensive. Armadillos... No, I hope you don't mind me saying. Both creatures, I believe both of them can be quite susceptible to carrying some form of disease on them. That's not saying anything about you as individuals at all. But yeah, both of them can have some disease on them. So they are both defensive creatures, are concerned that things might harm them. While also being, well, especially in the case of the turtle, the shell is actually part of their skeleton. It's actually evolved adaptation that was originally part of their rib cage. The rib cage eventually, over time, became visible over the skin and then hardened. So yeah. But what you can actually do, if you have a pet turtle, if you have a toothbrush, what you can do, you can give their shell a little brushy brush. And because it is part of their skeleton, their nerves can actually pick up the brushing, so they can feel you petting them in their shell. They like it. Apparently they really like it. I'm not saying that Kairazard is a sick person. Not at all. Not at all. But yeah, it's I don't know. I think a spirit animal tends to be a good opportunity for some introspection. If there's an animal that you really like, it lets you say, yep, here's something to be said, here's something to be looked into about me. And hello, don't act dumb. Oh, sick, as in dude. Yeah, that's sick. So yeah, they are really cool. Turtles, of course, exceedingly long-lived. They have very long lives. They're very long-lived creatures. Turtles, tortoises, all these kinds of things. Very long-lived creatures. And I believe there's 4 species of sea turtle, if I'm not mistaken. And they're absolutely beautiful creatures. Absolutely beautiful creatures. Armadillos are a vector of leprosy. That is true. But can be treated these days. So yeah. But yeah, defensive creatures. So maybe a bit of a withdrawn person. I hope you don't mind me saying, but potentially a bit withdrawn. Although, that said, you do speak quite a lot in these chats. I'm always glad to be seeing you in the chat. So maybe not quite as much of a defensive person as you may have been in the past. I've seen a picture of a scuba diver getting shagged by a turtle. My dear. Oh dear. Surprising, actually. I mean, I've actually bumped into a lot of marine biologists over the years, and I've had the pleasure of visiting a couple of turtle sanctuaries. You hear a lot about how, they come up on the beaches to lay their eggs, and then the babies, when they're born, they use the reflection of the moon on the water to tell which way they want to go. But they end up being distracted by the bright lights of the cities, which leads to them going the wrong way and sadly not surviving. It's a damn shame. But what you don't hear very much about is turtle mating habits, as it happens. I'd imagine it would happen at sea. So that makes sense. That does make sense that it would happen to a scuba diver. The poor scuba diver. No, the poor scuba diver. It's a shame. But hey, well, I suppose something to be learned here. Maybe it was a juvenile. Maybe it was a juvenile of the species. Maybe it hadn't found a mate yet, or hadn't really had the confidence. I'm not going to go into the details. Scuba diver. I'm not going to go into the details, but it has been observed that a lot of juvenile animals will actually practice intercourse with another species. Sometimes with other species, it can happen. I won't go into details on it because, But yeah, some species will actually practice intercourse before actually mating with a partner. So yeah, apparently that's natural. Apparently that's something that's natural. I won't go into details because the details may be distressing. But yeah, can happen. Nature is weird. Nature is weird. Oh, excuse me. I like to mute if I cough, but that's not up. Oh dear. But yeah, so yeah, that may have happened. So yeah, that's an interesting little tangent about spirit animals there. About spirit animals. And animals in general. So yeah, interesting. So thank you very much for this story, Charizard. I really do appreciate it, and thank you for sharing it. I would chalk this up as, I would maybe call this a spiritual encounter. I would maybe go for this as a spiritual encounter. Definitely, potentially. And we'll talk about this in a while. We won't talk about this right now, but we'll talk about my perception of reality, because I think that could be useful for people to understand about me, and understand about how I approach things like this, talking about spirituality versus science and things like that. So we'll talk about that in a bit, but not right now. I would put this down as, I would lean more towards this being a spiritual encounter myself. It certainly has more than enough significance to you, so I would probably lean towards putting this down as a spiritual encounter. So I hope these butterflies continue to bring you solace in the years to come. I hope they do. I hope they do. And yeah. So thank you very much for sharing that. Let's move on to the next slide. What do we have here? We do have another long one. It's not just Holokura's story. This is from Ritsu. I don't know if Ritsu is here. If you're maybe here under a different name, do reveal yourself if you're comfortable to do so. But no pressure. So, this is a story from Ritsu, and I have not read through this one. This is a bit of a long one. But yeah, it seems to be an interesting one. Shane Dawson will be relieved to hear that he ain't as weird as everyone thinks. The name Shane Dawson has kind of gone over my head, but that's the thing. Ritsu isn't here. Oh, that's a shame. Please do give Ritsu a timestamp so that they can see this one. It's currently 1 hour 15 into the stream that we're going to be starting, so do give Ritsu a shout to let them know when this segment is in, because I'd hope they'd want to watch it. So yeah, let's get right into this one. Shall we? So, this is something that occurred in my life during 2017, but in relation to 2012. Ever since I was in high school, I've always been an insomniac. When I get some actual sleep in, I usually go from closing my eyes briefly late night to waking up really early morning. But in most cases, I don't really dream, or at least I don't recall having any by the time I wake up. There are some rare occurrences where I do dream, but a good amount have been nightmares. For this specific instance, it seems like a typical kind of nightmare that involved my brother getting into a car accident by the grocery store we often drove by. A Safeway truck had struck him during an intersection which was commonly known to have accidents. The driver's side of the car was completely fine, but the entire passenger side was destroyed. Because the dream seemed like something that wasn't particularly out of the ordinary, I didn't think much of it at the time. Skip forward 5 years. My brother came into my room asking me if I wanted to get anything from the grocery store. Since it wasn't much, I decided not to tag along and asked for some Laffy Taffy since I haven't had it in a while. When he left, sometime after roughly around 30 to 40 minutes later, my dad rushed into my room telling me my brother had gotten involved into an accident. A truck had struck his car by an intersection, making his car completely immobile, but he himself was fine, luckily. After my dad went to pick him up, he had the car towed back home. I was glad my brother was alright. When he told me the details of the accident, though some time had passed, I suddenly recalled that dream I had during my late teens. Feeling a bit anxious, after making sure he wasn't too shaken up from the incident, I asked him what type of truck it was. Well, it happened to be the same exact Safeway truck from the dream. He didn't mind showing me the photo of the truck when I asked for further details. But when thinking to myself, I thought, this is probably just a coincidence, right? Since those kinds of trucks often drive by that area. After reasoning myself out of it, I then asked him which intersection did the accident take place. Shockingly enough, it was the exact same one. At this point, I kept telling myself, okay, both were pretty possible to happen, because it isn't impossible and isn't too uncommon, right? So it's probably just an unfortunate coincidence. But then I decided to go see the car for myself. The driver's side was fine, but the passenger side was completely crushed. What disturbed me wasn't the amount of damage that was done to the car, but the fact that what I was seeing in front of me was no different from what I saw in the dream. This isn't the only time something like this had happened. I've had a couple other instances where something that occurred in my dreams later happened in reality. I often told myself that it's probably just deja vu and let it go. Though the feeling of experiencing a similar event from a forgotten memory isn't out of the ordinary, eerie similar coincidence still disturbs me till this day. Now that, right there, is an intense story. This is an intense one, actually. To touch on some of the points that you mentioned in the story, Ritsu. To touch on some of those points. Coincidence is a coincidence. We're not gonna lean on that one. We're not gonna give it any real credence, because all saying something is a coincidence is saying, yeah, that happened, and then not bothering to say anything else. So yeah, this one's really interesting. So, like you were saying, this could very well be a case of deja vu, where you see something happening and then you get the feeling that something's happened before. But this kind of sticks out a bit from that, because it doesn't seem to be... You've not really gone into the exact detail on how things went in your dream. If you say in the dream that you kind of witness this accident happening, then the visuals from it are probably going to be very different from what you've actually perceived as your brother was telling you the story. So I'd say in that case, it's probably not going to be deja vu. If it's more that in your dream you remember being told that your brother had been in the accident, say by your dad or by your brother, and if your memory of the dream is those moments where they were explaining to you what had happened. If it's more like that, if your memories of the dream are more like that, then I would say it's more likely to be deja vu. And it could still be deja vu if your dreams were of the accident as it happened, because you could just be imparting your familiarity with that intersection and the images that you've seen onto it. So it very well could be deja vu. But what makes me think this might not be, or would make me think this wouldn't be deja vu, would be the fact that you say that it was a series of nightmares that you had in the past. So if you can point to a specific point in time where these dreams happened, then it really stands out from just being regular deja vu. So that's really interesting. It's a bit of a shame that you wouldn't have had a dream diary from back then. Maybe you did. It's something that I've meant to do myself, but it takes a lot of effort to start. Time for your night shift, Kairazard. Enjoy your night shift. Hope it goes well. Enjoy your day. Enjoy your day. Thanks for dropping by. So. Yeah, a dream diary. Dream diary, it would be definitely good if there had been a dream diary. There may be. Oh. Something's happening here. Is my stream alright? I think it might be dropping some frames for some reason. Not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. What's going on here? Let me know if the stream's okay. Let me know. Any issues with the stream? Yep, alright. Okay, if it's alright to you guys, that's fine. I just got a big yellow warning on YouTube. But yeah, it's fine. Okay, we've moved past it. Good. Thank you for being with me. So yes, if you had a dream diary from around that time where you had, or maybe you posted about it on Facebook, or if you had a PM with someone, like if you messaged, hey bro, I had this dream that you got hit by a Safeway car, or something. It would be interesting to know if you'd made note of it. because that would definitely give us a bit more information into what your mindset was at the time that you had the dream. So that would be very interesting to compare those messages with what you were told later. So that would be very good. But what I would say is there's a solid argument to be saying that this was a little bit of foreknowledge. This was you kind of seeing that this was going to happen in the future. There's a solid argument to be made here. It's one of these kind of circumstantial bits of evidence, that is often referred to when cases for supernatural events are being made. But yeah, so the whole point of this is that we're taking these stories on their own merits. We're letting them stand on their own merits. And we're keeping an open mind. So yes, there's definitely a case to be said here that these dreams did see this kind of thing happening. It is absolutely a probability. It's absolutely a possibility. Absolutely a possibility. The more information there is on this, the better the argument could be made. If you've got any notes on whether you messaged anybody and said, "Oh yeah, I had this weird dream," or if your family at all remember you talking about those dreams, that much strengthens the argument. That much strengthens the argument for it. But even so, definitely a possibility. So I would say that this is a strong argument. I would be saying to say that something uncanny is going on. What were the terms I was using again? With paper. Here we go. Got a pad of paper with some thoughts I had on it. Let's see. So, supernatural, uncanny, and absurd. I would say this is definitely in the uncanny section. I would say this is uncanny. It doesn't seem like it could be a thing that could happen by, standard logic, and yet it seems to have happened anyway. So, definitely in the uncanny section for me. Definitely the uncanny section. So yeah, very interesting story. Thank you for sharing it. And I also hope, thank goodness as well, that no one was in the car with your brother, because the entire situation could have gone a lot worse if someone had been in the passenger seat. So I'm very relieved for that. I'm glad you're safe as well, because you weren't in the car with him. And also, a very good brother, offering to pick up something from the store from you, rather than saying, "Hey, come buy it yourself." His generosity may have inadvertently saved a life there. So, props to you, and props to your brother as well. So yeah, I thank you for sharing that one. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next one. The next one has been written by Sairo. I think I'm saying that. Sairo. We're going to have a read at this one anyway. So this is not quite as wordy as some of the past ones. But still, let's have a little look at this one, shall we? Okay. So even as a kid, I had a weird sleep cycle. I would go from insomniac, hypersomniac, for weeks at a time. Very interesting. A lot of sleep issues going on with this crowd. I wonder if there's a common link going on here, eh? Maybe you guys can tell me. In my teenage years, we rented an old house in the city that had a reputation for having its quirks. I often heard unexpected noises at night, akin to footsteps, and sometimes hear knocking, despite being completely alone. This, however, didn't bother me as much, as these occurrences rarely bothered me. I can't even sleep, bro. Relatable. This would all change one night. After a week of insomnia, further worsened by senior year finals, I was very exhausted and wasn't completely lucid. I teetered on the either side of full consciousness or mindless automatic reaction. I began to hear phantom murmurs in between the walls, loud bangs at night right before I sleep, and having figures just narrowly scurrying in my peripheral vision. I was constantly on edge for the following days, and tried to drown out these auditory and visual hallucinations with music. That was until one night, when everything took a turn for the worse. Just as I was falling asleep, I felt terrible dread as I felt dozens of eyes on the walls look silently at me. No murmurs, no loud banging, no shadow people, just creepy silence, and walls with what felt like an eternity. The eyes closed in unison. Oh, sorry, I skipped line. And walls with eyes. I froze up and was unable to move, petrified by the stare the walls gave me. After what felt like an eternity, the eyes closed in unison, and I was able to move again. I immediately crawled under the covers and closed my eyes shut. After that, I got sleep, and the hallucinations stopped, though they would return when I had insomnia again. Not the eyes though. They felt different and more real. We've long since moved from that house, but I still sleep with at least a sleep mask on. I wouldn't want to check if this house's walls had eyes too. That's a concerning one. That's a bit of a concerning one. I'd say I'd put this one. Well, first of all, if Zero is here, or if Zero is not here, thank you for sharing this one. Thank you for sharing this. So this one does have a commonality with the one from before by, was it Holocur? I think it might have been Holocur. So this one has in common the lack of sleep. But what is significantly missing here, what isn't mentioned here, is whether or not you were taking a lot of stimulants, if you were taking large amounts of caffeine, whether it was coffee, whether there were any medications involved, these kinds of things. So there could be other factors in here. More information could be useful. It's not absolutely necessary, but more information could be useful. This is a concerning one. It seems like this did happen a couple of years ago. And yeah, Insomnia is not fun. I've had my wrestles with Insomnia myself. I've had to wrestle with it. You learn to you learn to work around it, or you learn to process it, I tend to find. But this definitely does seem like kind of minor kind of psychosis going on. Again, this is just looking at symptoms. This isn't making an assessment. I'm not a clinical doctor. If you are still having these kinds of sensations or experiences, if you think it would be helpful, consider getting that help if it is there. If you can take it, and you do think it would be helpful, do consider it. But this seems like a minor kind of psychotic episode, and as well as that, some sleep paralysis. I know I've had a couple of people I know have had sleep paralysis. The sensation where you're lying in bed, something is watching you, or something is stopping you from moving, or you're just completely paralyzed. These aren't uncommon. Even a couple of small hallucinations, like they're not uncommon. It's a matter of what's right for you, really. So as long as you feel safe, then you're probably okay. With this kind of thing, yeah, very likely to be sleep paralysis. I do note though that it's more a matter of the eyes being the sensation of something watching you, rather than something actively looking at you. Like, you're not looking at the walls and seeing eyes blinking open and then closing. By the language that you've used, it is much more along the lines of these eyes are... It feels like these eyes are watching you. Walls with eyes. It's the language that you're using is more about the feelings. It's more about sensation rather than what you visibly see. So it doesn't look like it's a visual hallucination. So maybe not too much of a psychotic episode. But yeah, definitely sleep paralysis. Sleep paralysis is a very interesting phenomenon in itself. There is, I believe there's a good amount of research being done into what it is, why it happens, what's going on. In fact, I believe there's a good amount of research being done into sleep generally. It looks like it's going to be a bit of a theme this stream, don't you think? But yeah, it's still very creepy. So yeah, we've only talked about the symptoms. We've only talked about the symptoms here. We've not looked at potential causes. So there is all of the childhood insomnia. That does happen. There's no mention of whether you were particularly stressed at times, and there's no note of what age you were around this time. But and also the odd noises as well. Again, they could be hallucinations, or it could just be, you know, old house, old noises. You know, I hear my building creaking on occasion. So yeah, could be all kinds of things. Sleep paralysis is like you're in a state of awake and dreaming, and it's not a good place to be in if you're having a nightmare. That's true. That's true. So what some people have come to think sleep paralysis comes from, it's when your mind wakes up. Okay, so when you're sleeping normally, what happens is your body shuts off your brain's connection to your motor nerves. So when you, for example, when you're watching a dog sleeping, you'll see sometimes it's kicking its legs and it looks like it's trying to chase something in its dream. That would be an instance where the body is asleep, but the brain still has some connection to the motor system. Sleep paralysis is basically the opposite. It's where you're lucid, or you feel lucid, but your body still thinks it's asleep, and your brain doesn't have access to the motor nerves. So you can't move your body. That's where the paralysis comes from. So that's what's going on broadly, very broadly. Again, not a clinical doctor, not a doctor at all, but that's broadly where it comes from. The reason for dreaming is unknown. Yeah, there's a lot of theories behind it. As it happens, people don't fully understand why we sleep, but there's some theories, and I can touch on those in a bit. But yeah, so sleep paralysis. Yeah, so basically, your body is still asleep, but your brain is still awake. You can open your eyes, you can blink, you just can't move your body. And the feelings of distress that people can have in those moments, especially when their brain's still half asleep and potentially still dreaming while your eyes are open. It's maybe a bit of lucid dreaming kind of situation going on as well. So yeah, interesting. As it happens, people don't actually know the reason why we sleep. There are plenty of theories. All we know is that it is absolutely essential for us to sleep. You can survive for maybe 40 hours without sleeping at a stretch. Eventually, if you are deprived of sleep, your body will just begin to shut down. If you're artificially kept awake, for example using stimulants or some other methods, then you would die very rapidly. You could potentially die within 4 days if you didn't sleep. It is utterly essential. So yeah, make sure you sleep well, people. Make sure you sleep well. Some of this is known from studies, some of this is known from records of past atrocities. Actually, one of the worst forms of torture that is possible to put out there is sleep deprivation. If you want to torture someone, you don't let them sleep. Watch someone not sleeping for 7 days. Yeah, I would not be surprised if they went insane. It's quite horrible, actually. It's very horrible. Reasons as to why sleep is a bad idea. Because normally you'd be thinking, well, there are, evolutionarily speaking, there are all kinds of nasty creatures around. You know, if you're a chicken, and you need to sleep, well, what's to stop a nocturnal fox from creeping up on you while you're sleeping? You know, there's a lot to lose. You lose awareness. You can be hunted. It's bad. It's bad. So yeah. You think, why would I just be sitting here doing nothing for 1/3 of my time alive? It turns out there's actually a bit of a parallel to this in machine learning. Now, machine learning is not a perfect model for what happens when an actual biological brain works, but maybe there's something that can be learned there, or maybe we can extrapolate something from machine learning to explain why human learning and learning in biological life can happen. So when you're training a machine learning algorithm, you give it some information, it takes it in, and then it updates itself to reflect what it has now learned from what it has just read. But while it's processing that information, it's not able to do another observation task, because if it was in the middle of the observation task, it would be half in the state of having updated itself while still going through the steps of what it was doing. So yeah, what actually happens is it'll try to do something, see how its attempt matches up with the information that it's given, and then it'll update itself to reflect that new information. So basically, us sleeping, in part, gives us an opportunity to update our brains on our experience. Sleep is really important for all kinds of things, from repairing injury in your body. If you are not sleeping very well, you will be unhealthy, you'll be unwell physically for longer. Injuries take longer to heal themselves. It can take longer to recover from emotional stress or physical trauma, emotional trauma. As well as that, it affects your ability to take on new information, to learn, and put into practice new skills. Generally, sleep is just vitally important for a lot of reasons. But the thing is, we still don't know exactly why it evolved the exact way that it did. It's still a big question. And yeah, being nocturnal, because it would give them an advantage over prey species that would be dependent on sight to be able to find them. It also gives them the ability to avoid predators that are active during the day. So yeah, we're all machines, more or less. We are basically all biological machines, but you know what? We're pretty damn impressive biological machines. Even we don't understand ourselves fully. Let's not look past that truth. So yeah, this story from Zero, this very much could be a similar case of, well, it could be easily explained by sleep paralysis and anxiety, with potential psychosis. It could also be slightly what I touched on with Holocure before, where it's kind of because you're tired, you're in this kind of almost elevated state of consciousness, or these kinds of things. So it could potentially be something supernaturally-ish. I would lean probably a bit more towards just being a tired episode, but you know, could be a bit of a there's an overlap. There's possibility for an overlap. But what I'd say, for the most part, and again, one of the takeaways from this, the incident passed. Yes, there were some other sensations, but it seems like you're broadly okay. You're broadly safe. You're broadly healthy. I would hope this hasn't caused you any harm. If it has caused you any harm, definitely consider getting help for it, because nobody wants to see you in a bad place. If this can be dealt with so it doesn't cause you any more trouble, definitely look at doing it. That's what I'm saying to everyone sharing these stories. If you need the help, then it is there. You can find it. But I'm gonna put this down. I'm gonna put this down in the broadly mundane kind of scenario. But potentially something there. But broadly mundane. So thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing, Sarah. Okay, and I think, wait, is this the... No, this is not the last one. This is the second to last one. Because, as I was saying at the start, I'm surprised. We got 8 submissions. So we've gone through 6 so far. So we just have 2 more to go. So this one was submitted by Vessel Subby. And I have seen Vessel in the chat somewhere. Much earlier on though. I've not seen you post for a little while. But we've got around to you. I'm sorry it's in alphabetical order. But we're here. I have to go now. Glad you enjoyed it, Holocur. Glad you enjoyed it. You enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for dropping by. Yeah, bye-bye. Bye-bye. So this one was submitted by Vessel. If Vessel Subby... Yes, Vessel is here! Excellent. So yeah, I'm glad you're here. If you weren't, I would have made note of the timestamp so that someone could have let you know what was going on. So yeah, good that you're here. So, we're going to read your story now. So, let's get into this, shall we? Oh, I've been forgetting my line. The next slide, please. Oh, I'm disappointed in myself. Okay, we'll do it for the next one. But yes, let's get reading. Salamiel, you didn't have time to submit yours. I'm sorry about that. That will be my fault. It was quite short notice that this was taking place, just the way that my week ended up going. So sorry that you didn't get a chance to submit it. But I don't think this will be the only time that we do something like this. Maybe we'll do something similar again in future. If people want to, we can maybe do something similar in future. So there should be plenty of opportunity to help me with my research in future. Alpha tier, your entry was quite short. Oh, that's okay. I don't mind a short entry. I don't mind short entries at all. Do not feel shy. They are more than welcome here. So, yes, let's get into it. So, from Vessel Subby. Probably the closest thing I've experienced of an abnormal event was at a hotel in which I was spending my time in vacation on. The hotel was divided into 3 to 4 condo-like structures with a bunch of rooms on them, with 2 of those structures being interconnected to each other, containing elevators and emergency stairs for power outages. I was staying at one of those structures. The power went out one day while I was coming back from spending 2 hours in a pool. I couldn't use the elevator, so I had to use the stairs. While I was climbing up to the floor on which I was staying, I could hear a bunch of metal clicks while I was walking, with the clicks matching rhythmically to my walk. I wouldn't get bothered if I was wearing some kind of footwear. I was walking barefoot the whole time, with the volume of the clicks being similar to touching the floor with a little bit of force using a coin or any small metal object. I thought the noise was on that volume because maybe I could be walking, giving strongish steps, but as soon as I got out of the stairs, I couldn't hear any clicks from my walk. I thought about going back to the stairs after the hotel getting electricity again. And so I did, barefoot and everything. But this time, I couldn't hear any clicks, or at least a small clap-like step. Still confused about it. Okay, that is a bit of an interesting one. Okay, Affetier, you didn't submit anything. You should have, you should have. You don't need to be shy just because it's a short story. We'll do it another time. We'll do another one. We'll do another one sometime, I'm sure. But yes, vessel. So this is a bit of an interesting one. So you got a power cut, and then you've got kind of metallic clicks while you're walking. Was it because you're here? I can actually ask you for some more information. Was this one click for every footstep, or was this one click for every other footstep? Maybe you can tell me about that. But in the meanwhile, so you'd just been in the pool, barefoot, couldn't use the elevator, so you were taking the stairs, and you could hear the clicks, little tapping, clicky noises, electrical. That's an interesting one. Okay. So, okay, to start off with, I have a lot of experience with tall stairwells in my time. Some of the... Yeah, questions like this. I'd imagine there'd be a railing in a stairwell. One click for every step, exactly as you were walking. Okay, so, because you're in a very small space, sounds magnify themselves, generally. So, sounds will magnify themselves very, very greatly. If it's a very tight stairwell, as they tend to be, the walls are usually quite close, so any sounds that are made will reflect off of them back towards you quite quickly. And this is especially true with the if the walls of the stairwell are at a right angle to each other. So if the walls are in a right angle to each other, so it's a rectangular or square room, then what happens is whenever anything would bounce against one of the walls in one of the corners, it'll bounce off of one wall and then immediately hit the next one and then bounce back. But the thing is, the direction that the object will be bouncing off of these walls will be the exact same as the direction that it was going into the corner in the first place. It'll be shifted a bit to the side, like if you bounce a ball off of one wall, it'll hit one, bounce off the other, and then come back at the same angle. It will be coming back, shifted over a little, but it should be at the same angle. What I would suggest is that these steps these noises, no railing, just wearing swimming shorts. The question that I want to ask them, were you still damp from the pool? Were you walking in bare feet while you were still quite damp from the pool? Like, your feet would still be a bit damp. Not too damp, like, I don't expect you to have just jumped out the water and it would be pouring off of you. But your feet may have still been a little bit damp. That may have been the case. So one of two things is likely to have happened here. What I think is that either it was just how you happened to be walking at the time, as you're going up the steps, then when you put your foot down onto the step, the water on your feet would have created a bit of a clacking, snapping noise. There'd be a very small release of air underneath your foot as your foot goes down, which would have created a little kind of clicking, snapping noise that might have reflected off of the walls and then came right back to you. Because, well, when you put your foot down, You could. I probably was, but I remember drying myself off for a long period of time before going to the stairs. Okay. So this is a possibility. It might have been that your feet were still slightly damp, and the sound of your feet on the steps reflecting back in your ears could have been what the clicking noise was. It may not have happened the second time, because when you returned to it, you were then going down the steps with drier feet. Even with wet feet, even with dry feet, and going down the steps, it could be a combination of the angle being different or how damp your feet were. It might not have resulted in the same amount of noise. And then, as you were going back up, your footsteps might have been different. You might have thought, oh, well, okay, it's not working, or I don't hear these noises, let's jog back up. You know, something about your gait might have been different while walking up the steps. If it wasn't your feet being slightly damp, then it could have been just the way that you were putting your feet down. Maybe those steps that you were taking, they might have just been... They might have been more in the way of virtual representation of what you can hear and trigger something of what you fear. Yeah. So yeah, you might have just gone down a couple of steps at the top and then thought, okay, it's not making the noise, gone back upstairs. So it might have been because you went about going up the stairs with a different attitude. It might have changed the rate at which your feet were falling, and so change the steps that you were taking. So that's one possible suggestion for what it could have been. I'm not going to entirely rule out the possibility of it having been something a bit more out there, but let's see. One sec. Forgot to do something. Wondering why I was having some issues. Now I remember, so that's fine. So yeah, it could have been something like that. Or it could have been something that's a bit more out there. I'd say this is most likely to be a mundane story, but I'm not going to rule out entirely that there was something odd going on. I can't rule that out entirely. This strange echo, kind of clicking noise. I don't know. Wait, do I believe in ghosts? Very interesting question. I think I addressed this actually. If you're asking me, I think I addressed this in not the stream earlier today, but the stream before that. Aero, you should have submitted it. These are fun. But no. So I live in a world where we have shape-shifting foxes, we have fallen angels, we have powerful destructive dragons, and we have multiple elves running around. I am willing to keep an open mind when it comes to ghosts, when it comes to spirits, when it comes to the supernatural. I have to keep an open mind in this kind of situation, you know? I've not actually encountered a ghost myself, but there's more than enough circumstantial evidence to make me think, okay, it's worth keeping in mind that this may be a possibility, you know? Even ignoring all that, I generally like to keep an open mind. You know, I wasn't going to talk about it right now, but why don't we anyway? So when it comes to me, have I spoke about this before? I might have spoke about this before, I don't remember. But generally speaking, I make a habit of keeping an open mind. If you come to me about any subject, whatever it is, more often than not, I will be able to keep an open mind about the situation. It kind of frustrates people a lot of the time. Like, I've gotten into debates and discussions with people where people have been like, hey, this is going on, or this is the situation. I've been like, you know what, that's fair. There's also this going on, or there's this aspect to the story, or there's this situation going on. Why am I sad? I shouldn't be sad. But yeah, there's all kinds of situations where I'll be in a debate with someone and I'll disagree with them, but I can still see where they're coming from, and I can actually have a good debate with them, a discussion about what's going on. I can have completely opposite views to someone, but still admit that they've got a point. So while there currently is no conclusive evidence as to whether ghosts exist, or even whether the soul exists, I'm not just going to dismiss the fact that it has value. I'm not going to dismiss the fact that these things could exist, or there might be meaning behind them, just out of hand. As well as that, when it comes to reality, and I don't think I have talked about this actually, so this is going to be an interesting one for me. When it comes to reality, every single person has their own perception of what is real. I have my perception of, well, what is limited to my experience, and other people have their own perceptions. What has been scientifically proven is something that has been attempted multiple times by multiple people, to the extent where the general consensus is that this happens to be the case. So no matter how absurd or strange or weird something is, people have all agreed that something is real. That is what scientific consensus is. It's lots of people agreeing that reality appears, to the best of our knowledge, to behave a certain way. The thing is, that doesn't mean that the only thing that can be trusted, or the only thing that has meaning and purpose, is what can be objectively confirmed with other people. Okay, yeah, there's a couple of points being raised in the chat. I'm going to talk about them in a bit. But yeah, so just because someone has a subjective personal experience that no one else can verify doesn't mean that it wasn't real to them, and thus doesn't mean that it's not real as well. If, for example, Ash and I were to agree that one day the sky was blue. Okay, that's a dumb thing to say. If Ash and I were one day to agree that the sky was yellow, bright yellow, and we were completely convinced, we just spoke to each other and completely convinced ourselves that the sky was yellow one day, then as far as either of us are concerned, then on that day, the sky was yellow. Even if it wasn't factually true, if we are convinced that something is true, then as far as we are concerned, it was true. There have been all kinds of circumstances that I'm not going to dive too much into, where people have had the impression that reality is a certain way. There's all kinds of examples throughout history of, revolutions, rebellions, all kinds of civil unrest, where some people perceive reality to be one way, some people perceive reality to be another. Both people's worldviews are valid and worth tackling on their own terms. Because, as far as these people are concerned, this is reality. This is the true state of things. However, it is possible to have your own perception of reality and be incorrect. So yeah, basically, I'm willing to keep an open mind about things, but I'm also going to remain critical of things. I'll judge things on their own merits, I will judge things within my experience, and I will judge things within the experience of others, and generally the wider community, whether it's scientists, or whether it's kind of pop culture in general. So yeah, I'm willing to even question my own assumptions. I'm willing to question my own assumptions. I'm willing to question what I believe to be real, what I believe reality is. Because reality is absolutely subjective. Your reality is your own perception. So yeah, those are my thoughts. So this is why I'm willing to tackle these discussions, because I'm honestly interested in them. I'm interested in knowing and trying to understand other people's perceptions of reality and the things that they've experienced, and seeing how things relate to my reality. Reality is confusing. Reality is definitely confusing. So yeah, a couple of points were raised in the chat here. So there have been studies about the human soul. There have indeed. There have been some famous experiments about it, like the one mentioned by Donak Dum, which was a person who weighed himself both before and after he died. Yeah, that is absolutely true, that there was a change in the weight of the person. However, the weight of the person's weight discrepancy can be explained by a couple of different factors. It can be explained by the lack of moisture after their death. It can be explained by the beginnings of decay in the person's body, as part of their mass starts to react with the environment around them, giving off chemicals such as carbon dioxide, methane, these kinds of things. So there is a discrepancy there, but it cannot be brought down to what the soul is. I could go off on a little bit of a tangent right now, talking about energy and where mass comes from, but I'm gonna restrain myself, because that's a whole massive topic. We'll talk about that another day. Mass, matter, energy, super interesting stuff. Literally the foundation of my subject of expertise, as I call it, expertise. So we're not going to go into that today. We're going to wrap up these little story readings, and I'm going to rest my voice a little bit. So yes, thank you to Vessel Subby. This was an interesting story. This was interesting. I am going to classify it Higgs boson. Yes, I actually have some experience with the Higgs boson, so I will talk about that another time. But yes, Vessel, yes, I'm going to put this down as mostly plausible, but I'm not going to entirely rule things out. I'm not going to entirely rule out that this couldn't have been something strange going on. And, oh, Haruki. Okay, we're going to take a small detour. We're going to take a small detour for Haruki's short, strange story. So Haruki is saying, when I was in elementary, it was dark and I forgot something in my room. As I go out, the two big main doors shut forcefully. Then I knew I have salt. I threw it at the doors. Okay. Okay. Interesting. The rest of the doors and windows start acting weirdly. Okay, so with throwing salt, okay, so interesting scenario with the doors shutting all of a sudden. Of course, little detail to go on, but salt has been used in a lot of kind of spiritual rituals. Certain salts, when thrown into fire, can make the fire burn interesting colours. That's mostly chemical reaction, but salt is known to be used in these kinds of scenarios. Vessel, go enjoy your food. Thank you for dropping by, and thank you for the story. Thank you very much for sharing your story with us. And Haruki, yes, so salt, yes, used in all kinds of rituals. It can be used in, I believe, Western Western rituals, it's quite often used in preparing circles, like summoning circles or these kinds of things. Partially, I have a sneaky suspicion it's due to the sheer expense of salt. Way back when, salt was incredibly expensive and very, very valuable. They used to pay people in salt, of course. So yeah, it was one of these rare and expensive things that would be used for these rituals. Also, all these little old wives' tales kind of thing. Like if you spill salt, you have to throw some over your. Is it your right shoulder with your left hand, or is it your left shoulder with your right hand? I don't remember. But yes, salt. Very interesting stuff. Very interesting stuff. So very appropriate that you would use it to throw it at the doors. Yeah, very interesting. So yeah, interesting little story there. Interesting little story there. Salt is like a jar of it for 10 dimes here. Yeah, exactly. Now we produce it on an industrial scale. It is cheap as dirt, basically. No one bats an eye at salt anymore. Yeah, it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. So yeah, thank you for sharing that. And Avatir, I'll be interested to see your story towards the end. Salamiel says, salt for all the gacha gamers. Absolutely. Lots of salt. So much salt. Although, on my last free roll in Princess Connect, I did manage to get Summer Tamaki 2 in the same roll, actually. It was very... Now that was absurd. So yes. Anyway, we're going to move on to the very, very last, but not the least. The very last story that was submitted. This one is by Zeno. Zeno, if you are here, we are reading your story. I am in the gacha hell. I've managed to not spend a penny on it yet so far. I am not Misaki. I think I'm at what? Am I level 104? 105, something like that. I've been playing for months now. Blame Amberglow. The Amberglow members got me into it. Honkai Impact. Oh dear, I seem to have set off people's gacha addictions. Oh dear. But yes, we on to Zeno. Let's read Zeno's story, shall we? It was a pretty cold night in December when this happened. We had a big karaoke, and a few friends and relatives came over to our house to join in. It was pretty fun. It was 2 AM, and I'm left with dishwashing duties and cleaning up, as you do. I was alone, of course, because both my parents were exhausted after accommodating all the guests and setting everything up, so I just decided to take the job. "30 minutes later, and I'm washing the dishes. I can't help but have the feeling of being watched for some reason. My head keeps telling me to watch my back, or to look up every time just to check if something is there. It's nerve-wracking, honestly, because this is the first time I've felt this sensation. I check my back, nothing. I look up at the ceiling, nothing. Little did I know that at the window over the sink, I saw a pair of eyes looking straight at me. This shook me to the core and made me shiver in fear. The eyes that stared were cold and lifeless, and I don't even know if it's human or just my imagination. One thing that may correlate to this anomaly is the Acacia Tree at the corner of our street. I would always walk by there, and every time I did, there would always be a cold mist of wind that blows on me, as well as a few whispers that are slightly inaudible. I also see silhouettes of people that aren't there, because we don't have much neighbours near our house. I swear to my soul that this isn't the first time I've seen these pair of eyes. After getting a glimpse of those eyes that were staring, I just finished off my juices quietly. I was in shock, and I couldn't do anything about it. I went upstairs at 3 AM, didn't sleep a second. Oof. Yeah, I think the dishwashing duties definitely one of the scary parts of this story. But no, in all seriousness, Acacia Tree, very interesting. I don't know any particular significance when it comes to acacia trees, but the sensation of cold winds and odd whispers could be coming from the tree itself. Acacia trees, I think, are more common to warmer climates, and with it being an acacia tree, it might be that the shade from the tree means that the air around the tree is a bit cooler than the air around the rest of the area. So it might have been that whatever breeze you were feeling was just slightly cooled by the air around the acacia tree, especially if it was a very light breeze. It might have been enough to remove some of the heat from the day. So that may be a factor in things. That may be a factor. As for the eyes, well, we could go down the same route that we've spoken of with some of the other. The tree is really old. Yeah, old trees. Old trees and old places, they carry a lot of history. They carry an awful lot of history. If things have happened in your part of the world, then yeah, it could be that there's some memory there, something has happened in the local area. The sensation of being watched is definitely one that we've covered in these speeches, this talk. Acacia tree is home to spirits of some sorts. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. A lot of traditions do have, whether it's nature spirits or whether it's like ghosts or things associated with trees. It's also easy to see, it's easy to see faces in the leaves and the branches, the bark of the tree. So yeah, there's a lot of connection between spirits and trees. I can definitely see it. There. As for seeing the eyes directly at you, again, as I was saying, could be a combination of tiredness because you'd had a long, exciting night. So it could be a combination of tiredness, could be that there was something out there, could have maybe been an animal that you might have been able to see. Your description's quite light on whether it was like pressed up against the glass or whether it was out in the garden. I can't quite tell. But yeah, could be there was some animal there. Could have been a trick of light through the tree leaves, perhaps. Or maybe could also be maybe some kind of vision of some spirit to do with the tree. Who can say? Not entirely sure. Definitely an odd one. I would put this in the uncanny category myself. I'd put this in the uncanny category for sure. So yeah, thank you very much for sharing this story. Again, the feeling of being watched is quite a common one. Very much a common one. So yeah, these have been very interesting. Yeah, thank you very much for sharing this one, Zeno. Thank you very, very much. So yeah, I think with that, I think we're at the end of the stories that have been submitted. So yeah, very interesting, all of them. All of the stories have had something really interesting in them. Either something... No, thank you, Zeno. Every single one of these, like, I've tried to spend a good amount of time with all of these. I feel slightly bad that I've not spent quite as long on Xenos as I have some of the others. It's kind of a combination of some of the points we've mentioned before, which is a shame, and also a bit... I am starting to feel a bit tired. The early morning and the streaming and talking for several hours. But we're not quite done yet. Every single one of these, I've either been able to have something that I feel is interesting to talk about from each of these, or I've learned something from them. Like, I didn't know the significance of acacia trees. when it comes to them being home to spirits and things like that. I didn't know that. So every single one of these has been really interesting. I've learned something from all of them, and I feel like I've learned something about some of you guys. So thank you all for sharing. Thank you all for sharing with me, and for sharing with everyone. I hope you have enjoyed that aspect of it. And yeah, it's been really good. But you know, we had another little scientific study the other day, didn't we? We had the little survey where it was asking what people thought was more scary, being woken up in the dark, or rather being in the dark and on your own, or being in the dark and not alone. And I think, having asked that question and having had some of the feedback from some of the viewers, there may be some overlap here. Maybe some of the people who've had experiences where they have felt like they're not alone in the dark. I wonder if you guys also said that being in the dark and not alone is more frightening than being in the dark and being alone. So I wonder if there's a bit of a correlation there. I'd be very interested. I'd be very interested to hear about that. But you may remember that as we were discussing the results of that little quiz, that I revealed that there was a secret agenda behind that. And there was a secret hidden agenda. We learned what kind of attitudes people tend to take when they respond to a quiz. I have to say, I'm not sure if me highlighting the number of people who had a joke response to my original quiz. I wonder if that's part of why there's these are all being quite serious. Some of these have been very personal, and I do appreciate people sharing them with me. But I wonder if maybe that's partly why. I don't know. It also needs to be said that there may or may not have been some pre-selection of which of these ended up getting shared, because Zeno, you did send me the link to the documents that have been uploaded in the document. I don't know if there were some submissions that people had made that didn't make the cut for some reason. I don't know if you told me that. I don't know if I'd be overly concerned if there had been. I might actually be interested to see any ones that hadn't made the cut. So I'd be interested to hear if some hadn't. If you had to remove some for any reason, I'd be very interested in that. Just so that we can remove any potential sources of bias from this study. So yeah, I'd appreciate being told, just for certainty. But on that note, actually, I may have actually deceived you once again. I think I have successfully deceived you all once again, because I did in fact have a secret agenda for this stream. Because I'm not just interested. We're going to move over to my chatting stream once again. Yeah, we've all been bamboozled again. So we have. So I have, of course, got an agenda with this. You said I did tell you were going to be helping me with my studies, but I didn't exactly tell you what my studies were. Yes, of course. I am interested in hearing people's stories about strange things going on in the world. This has been very enlightening to me. More cables. There may be more cables next week, but not right now. So, what was I really up to with this? What was really going on? Well, my friends, let me tell you. So, you will know that we've got this whole interesting scenario going on here. We have this all going on with Realia, the world that you and I are familiar with. We also have Vestia, the other world from which Nunki, Sulan, Ash, Chelsea, this world that they come from, the world that we found ourselves in. There's something weird going on here because they can contact this side of things as well. They can contact Realia and reach out to all of you while also being over there. And I am originally from Realia, but I've found my way over to Vestia. So what's going on here? What's happening with this? What makes it so that we can make this connection? There's all kinds of ways, there's all kinds of theories as to what's been going on. And this touches on something that I've said in the past, because we all have a bit of a different story behind us, don't we? Like, we've not all said, hey, we all encountered some rift. You know? We've not all said that. We've not all said there's a rift. We've not all said there's a particular process that we followed. Things seem to be quite up in the air as to what's going on here. So, what I've been looking at is whether there are any similarities between what me and the others have gone through. And I've got a couple of theories, got a couple of suggestions as to what's going on. Isn't Chelsea some kind of dimension traveller? Well, in a sense, aren't we all dimension travellers? In a sense. She certainly has that going on. She certainly has that going on, does Chelsea. But, yeah, so, why am I asking you guys about strange experiences? Well, what I'm wondering, does this extend beyond just us? Does this extend to the greater population? Maybe it's not just me and Misaki and the others who can potentially touch the other side. Maybe some others have been able to reach over to the other side as well in their own ways. Maybe some of the things you've seen could potentially be connected to what's going on. Maybe this is going. Who knows? I want to find out though. So, we do have some interesting experiences over here. Some of the things that you shared have been interesting. Some of them suggest maybe things are going on like at the sides of our minds and the sides of our consciousness. One thing in particular that I'm wondering is, because the experience between us all has been so different, maybe it ties into what I mentioned before. Maybe a part of it is that it's different for different people. Maybe, I don't know, maybe we all go through our own different steps, our own different process, our own different experiences of things, but ultimately ends up taking us to the same place. So yeah, a lot of questions to ask here, which is why I've been asking for these stories. And before, this is a teaser for new talents. We've been doing this, 4 months now? We've been doing this about 4 months now. I don't think we're quite at the... I don't think we're quite bringing out some new talents just yet. We're going to wait for Chelsea first, at least. We're going to wait for Chelsea first, at least. But you never do know. You never do know. So yeah. It could be that some of you may have brought something into this. Maybe there's a bit of a connection here. It's something that I'm going to look at. It's something I'm going to look over the stories, and I'm going to see if anything could potentially seem like a good link, tie things in. And then I'm going to do a bit more digging. into what's been going on with all this. And once I'm done with these preliminary tests, I think what we're going to do, we might do something like this again in future. And I don't know, maybe we'll see if we can get a couple, maybe we'll try and get a couple more people involved. Again, I want to say, I've been blown away by the response that we've had just now. I didn't expect to be having, 8 or 10 or however many people who were willing to do this. I didn't know if there would be maybe 3 responses. I was thinking, how will I string a 2-hour stream out of 3 responses? I'd make it work. I would make it work. You know I'm good for it. But yeah, next time, there may be a next time for this. We might do something like this again in future. And if we can get some more responses, or maybe ask some different questions, maybe we can get some more information. And maybe we can see a little bit more of what's really going on here. So yeah, I hope this interests you. I hope we've all had an opportunity to learn something here about ourselves and about each other, and a little bit about all kinds of little bits about the world around us is like. So, for taking part in my study, I really, really do appreciate it. Thank you all so much for your submissions, and thank you to everyone who has been here for having the chat. Thank you to the fan Discord as well for inviting me to be their talent of the week this week. I know I didn't have quite as much time to get quite everything together as we could do, but I hope you've enjoyed it. I certainly have. And yeah, so thank you all so very, very much for being here and for supporting all of Amberglow as ever. So yeah, I think with that, and with the stream having gone on just a wee half hour longer than expected, I'm gonna call the stream here. So what's going on this week? So this week, I'm going to make a bit more of an effort to be getting my stream announcements up a bit earlier. I want people to know at least 24 hours in advance when I'm going to be streaming and what I'm going to be streaming. So over today and tomorrow, we are going to be getting our schedule for the week up. We are definitely going to be playing some more Fallout 3, because Fallout 3 has been absolutely fantastic. We've been loving it. We may finally get around to playing some what was it called again? Some Kerbal Space Program, because it's been nearly 2 weeks now, and I did mean to play it this week, but illness happened, and collaborations happened, and this happened, so a lot's been going on. So yeah, we'll get back to some Kerbal Space Program next week as well. And also, I believe Ash and I have been in talks about having a little collaboration as well. So that's going to be happening, well, hopefully that's going to be happening this week too. I don't know exactly what day that's going to be, still need to sort out the days with Ash, and potentially do a little trial run as well. Again, busy week, haven't had the chance to do the test, but yeah, so there's going to be a lot happening this week. As well. Yeah, boys' night out. Come on, we've got to have a good night out. We've done 3 collabs already. We've done 3 collaborations already. We've did one before debut with Nunki. We did one last week with everyone, and then we did one earlier today with Misaki and Sulan and Chelsea. So it's about time. The boys had a collab. So we've got a game lined up. We're gonna have some fun with it. We're gonna have some good fun with it. So yeah, with all that having been said, I've said it already, but thank you all so much for dropping by. Until next time, goodbye, and take care out there, everyone. Take care. Look out for yourselves. Be good to yourselves. We'll do this again. It'll be fun. So bye-bye. Bye-bye, everyone. Bye-bye.